What up, Capers? Martin the Thought Junkie here from the Cape Seat Free crew, recording live from Los Angeles? Somewhere? We're all Los
Yeah,
Angeles,
we're
right?
all around. Yeah,
Yeah, it
the
looks like
city.
Los Angeles.
Thought Junkie here. Who else we have kicking it
We
with us
got
today?
I'm Chad, the resident movie nerd.
And I'm not Chad, the resident movie nerd. I'm Chris, the film school dropout.
And I'm Susie Q.
The Q stands for?
Quarantine.
Well, this is episode 2 of the Golden Cape Awards.
AKA the Capies.
The Capies. And I gotta say, you guys, you capers out there, are killing it with your votes. I mean, I've been looking all week and like trying to see who's ahead, and it just keeps jumping back and forth. And I wish I can show you, but I'm just gonna talk about some of the categories real quick. Best Supporting Actor. There's obviously someone who we all think should be the winner of that. Best Supporting Actress is insane because it keeps on jumping back and forth between two people. Best Makeup is literally in a tie. Actually, no, it's not in a tie anymore. We had
that fast.
Ooh, okay, we got some races here. Yeah.
I opened it up like 5 minutes ago, and now we had 3 more votes come in. So this is fantastic. And then Best Villain was tied between 2 people. And I gotta say, I'm so excited about showing all of the Capers these results. How do you guys feel after doing this first episode and talking about these nominees and just getting all that stuff that's been in our heads finally out into the ether?
Yeah, I thought it was fun because we all individually have our own ideas about what we think are the best of these categories, but then you guys come up with ones I'm like, how did I not think of that? Or like, of course, like that, like how did I miss that and stuff? You know what I mean?
It's such oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm having a good time. I hope you guys are.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to talk about 5 categories today. We're going to talk about Best Film Editing, Best Original Score, Best Original Screenplay, Best Original Song, and Best Romantic Couple. And that's something that we created just to kind of have fun with this category. So this is a very technical category. This is only our second episode, but this might be one of the most technical episodes that we do have. All right, cool. So let's go ahead. What are we drinking today? I'll start. I am drinking wine from Trader Joe's. I don't know.
Is that $2, Chuck?
It is not. It is
okay.
$8.99. So Suzuki, I'm classy, okay? I'm classy.
$2 Chuck is good. It's not even $2 anymore.
And then as backup, I have some Stockyard oatmeal stout. Yes, I'm the type of person that mixes.
For backup,
things.
How long you think this is gonna go?
You know, who knows? What are you drinking, Suzy Q?
I am drinking a Sauvignon. A Cabernet. It is Cloud de Bao. I've butchered the French because I really can't say it, and I guess I too have a backup. Just got myself a little pineapple cart.
Ooh,
nice.
I like those.
Chase it with.
Old Golden Road. Nice. Well, piggybacking on those guys, I am also drinking wine tonight. This is a wine of the week kind of thing going on. Normally doing beer, but I actually ran out of beer. But this is just a Merlot, a cheap old Sutter home. We usually think of ways to tie this into what we're talking about somehow. And
on the spot, go. You got this.
I couldn't think of anything, but I am drinking it out of a glass that I got at the Wilson Creek Winery.
Ooh.
And which I believe is in Temecula.
I am drinking some vodka. Well, it's a little Ciroc and soda.
Fancy smancy. We're starting with Best Film Editing today, Capers, and film editing is one of those things where you have to really love your job because you're sitting in a room, most likely, dark room by yourself or with the other editors, and you're kind of really, your main goal is to really produce this product that the industry and that people and that fans all across the world are going to enjoy. I feel like it's a lot of pressure. I've been editing a lot. Chris, film school dropout, you're an editor. Is there anything you want to tell us about the editing process? And maybe you should go first, or should he go last?
Yeah. No. Well, first off, it's a great job for quarantine. I do love the creative part of it. Obviously, there's some technical and tedious stuff, but the creative part of it, when you're actually where you're the one that's actually forming and telling this story, keeping it pacing, keeping people interested. That to me, I loved it. So, and with that, I will talk about my film editing choices.
Yes,
And
let's hear this.
One of my first ones is Avengers: Infinity War. And the reason I say that, because I mean, at first off, I think that like the best editing is the editing you don't really notice. It's just everything just goes smoothly. Everything's paced well. I think Infinity War did a great job and including every character. The story was paced well. It kept going. I feel like if I turn that movie on at any point, I could wind up watching the rest of it. You go from one person, then you go to space, then you go to another part of space, and you're with the Guardians. But everything just kind of like all comes together at the end, and it's all one story. But technically characters are all over the universe practically. Number two, I will also say number two, which Endgame. Endgame's not number two. A lot of it is because of pretty much how they told this story, and they're going back in time, and then they're able to really like close out those characters, close out Tony Stark and his problems with his family, and his father, and kind of like wrap that story up. While in turn wrapping the thing up with Thor and wrapping the thing up with Captain America. But still, it's everything just kind of like it glides together and it actually works, even though time travel can be confusing and crazy at times.
Wow, I didn't even think of that. You're right.
It made sense.
Yeah, having to go through multiple like timelines and multiple like and parallel timelines at the same time while trying to keep the continuity of a story going. That's a good choice.
Throwbacks to all the other films.
Yeah.
Throwbacks to the previous films. While it's a feat. So
not to mention doubles fighting each other and Loki running away and taking whatever that was, Tesseract or whatever it was.
Tesseract, yeah.
And then making you cry at the end.
Yep.
Spoiler. But I'm giving the third one. I'm giving the third one, so mix it up a little bit. The Snyder's cut, just the long-awaited Snyder cut to DC that we've been waiting for. Yes, the movie was longer.
I was gonna say it's like 4 hours long. You're supposed to edit things down, but
Well, no, but the thing is, the problem I felt with the first version is they cut up too much. They cut down too much to the point where you weren't like involved in the story. Everything was kind of like rushed and like buttoned up with like a little joke or something. Where I feel like in the Snyder cut, he actually took his time. He explained you understood the mother boxes more. That was one comment I got from people when they watched the first one. They're like, oh, the mother box, and it's just some infinite thing. The newer cut kind of explains that story, explains the mother box, explains Darkseid and Steppenwolf and how he's trying to show face and get himself back in the good graces with Darkseid.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen it and I totally agree. It was light years, and it's really pretty. It was light years better than the theatrical cut that we saw. But you said something, Chris, that really hit me and struck me. Feeling like you're a participant in the film. That's something that a good editor can do. You talked about like an editor being able to you don't notice the cuts, right? You feel like you're there. You feel like you're a participant of what you're watching on screen. You're living through that character. And I totally get what you're saying. I've been trying to verbalize exactly what I feel, and I'm going to use that when I talk about my choices a little bit later. So thanks, Chris. Thanks, Mr. Editor.
I really hope that is a lesson to the studios that like to put limitations on people's art. It ruins the actual project. If they had just kind of allowed them to do it the way they wanted to do it originally.
That's a situation as old as movie making itself.
You would think they just learn, just getting shit on over and over again.
Well, they do test screenings and they got to worry about the profitability and the marketability and
how many times they can play the film in one day.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a factory, and they're making a product at the end of the day. And yeah.
I mean, the fact that they can make Endgame so long is because they knew everyone was going to still go see that.
Right.
Oh yeah. Are those all your?
There's my picks.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to go next because
do it.
I'm really glad, Chris, that you said what you said about feeling like a participant in the film, and it's hard for me to turn it off. Right. It's been that way since I went to film school. I remember my professor telling me, you're going to have to find, my screenwriting professor, you're going to have to find a way and a time to turn off the analysis. And that's so hard for me to do. But now I'm making the realization that one of the ways to get me to turn it off is to have a film in which I feel like I'm along in that journey, in that process. And the editing has a lot to do with that. So my first choice, Days of Future Past, John Ottoman and Michael Lewis Hill, the editors for X-Men Days of Future Past, to go through so many different timelines. I remember there was that midpoint, I think, when Logan sees Stryker and he's like having that panic attack. And then in that other part of the timeline, he's like simultaneously like, I don't know, wanting to stab people and like they have to keep him under so he doesn't come back. And it was just so well done and so many different storylines intertwined together. So X-Men, Days of Future Past, John Ottoman and Michael Lewis Hill, you got my vote. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Chad, we saw that together.
All right.
Which theater did we see that in?
You watched it with me?
Yeah, we watched that.
Wow. Did you watch it at Sony? Did you watch it at Sony with
Clearly,
me?
it was a memorable moment.
Wow.
No, I saw it a bunch of times. I don't know. I don't remember.
I like that pick though. I like the.
That's like asking me who I saw After Earth with the third or the seventh.
Yeah,
film.
I know, right? Yeah,
I get it. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the editing I felt like was its own character in that film. Like it was so unique, and of course it was in animation, so you get away with more things in terms of being stylistic with how you edit. But like I said, it felt like a character. It felt fun to really like. There's freeze frames that happen. There was different ways and different. I think there was 3 directors for that, Chad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you felt like it felt like 3 different voices, but when it was all edited together, it felt like one cohesive film, and that's not easy to do.
So they're trying to make it feel like a comic book too. So you're editing together different images, and I mean, it's all parts of the production all come together. The editing just like a culmination of it, but trying to replicate like frames from a comic book and things like that. Yeah,
right.
But no, I agree. Like, there's some great edited sequences and editing it together with the music and stuff is really cool too. Like, when Miles, first has his suit, the "What Up Danger," and jumps off the building. And actually, there's some funny edits in that too. Remember that when he goes to like jump off the building and it's like too high, and then he looks, then then it cuts to him like running back down the stairs. The music cuts off, and then he looks over to the shorter building. Yeah, like, that's a really funny cut that gets a laugh, I think, every time. So yeah,
I truly feel like there's 3 processes of one film you can tell in 3 different ways. It's the writing part of it, that's one phase of that story, and then the production of it, that's another phase, and then when you get into that editing room, you have the opportunity to retell that story even more different than it was told the first 2 times. So Robert Fisher Jr., Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you killed it. And then Watchmen, William Hoy. Another, as you can tell, I'm kind of a buff for the multiple timelines or multiple stories. Probably why I like Crash so much as well. And we talked about this during the Watchmen audio podcast. And just to have so many stories. There was one central story being the comedian, and so interwoven with all the other Watchmen characters, and it told this cohesive story at the same time. That's the word of the day for me, is cohesiveness when it comes to the editing. And I love Watchmen. I didn't enjoy it the first time I saw it in the theaters, the theatrical cut, as we were talking about earlier. But when I saw Zach's, director's cut, I really understood what he was trying to do. And I really understood the story a little bit better. And you're right, Susie, stop taking our directors and messing with their art. Let them tell the story that they want to tell. My last one is Spider-Man Far From Home. Lee Folsom Boyd, and Dan Lebenthal. I remember watching that movie in theaters, and I just remember, I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan, but I remember feeling like I was on that journey. I remember the fight scenes, and for me, like, those fight scenes were so memorable. It didn't feel like a video game. It felt like a real human in that suit. I know a lot of the kids nowadays are talking about Spider-Man Far From Home as one of the best superhero films of all time. So
fun one.
Very
Really?
fun one.
I haven't talked to
hear
those kids.
I haven't talked to kids. I don't know what
So those are mine.
I'll jump in here. So mine actually overlap with yours, Martin and Chris. So I also had X-Men Days of Future Past, Michael Lewis Hill and John Ottman. Because yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like I feel like any movie that has so many characters and storylines. I mean, obviously a lot of it has to get sorted out in the writing process as well, but then to just like have to get into the editing room, and then obviously like all these complicated movies have a lot of deleted scenes, and to figure out how to cut out things for time or whatever and still have the plot make sense, you have to figure out, like, you have to make sure you're not cutting out any like vital information, but like yeah, just balancing all those characters and then the timelines and stuff like that. And I just thought that movie just works so well. And I mean, there are movies, like I think a lot of Snyder movies do this, where there is really flashy editing. You think of a movie like, I don't know, like Edgar Wright movies have really flashy editing. Like you watch Shaun of the Dead or Baby Driver, or
there's a hard cut to the next scene.
Yeah, which is amazing. Yeah. That stuff's all got
that.
planned. I mean, like Edgar Wright has to plan all that ahead of time. So you have to shoot the proper whip pans and stuff like that. But that's like fun editing, and I love that too. And that can be really successful and really awesome editing. But then also invisible editing is amazing as well. You look at like 1917, which won an Oscar for editing, which is odd, even though it's supposed to be a one-shot movie. I mean, people know it's not. It's not. People know it wasn't all one shot. It was multiple like things stitched together. But I thought it was interesting that they gave. And that's really invisible. That's actually a testament to like the VFX also that stitched them together. But it's also well planned. But anyway, so yeah, editing is really important, and it's something that most people probably outside of the industry don't think of, or you know what I mean, or don't know much about, or don't give a second thought
to.
Editing.
You don't think about it.
Yeah. Oh, quick fact though about John Ottman, who co-edited Days of Future Past. He edited almost all of the other X-Men movies. Martin, I don't know if you know this. Oh, wow. He also he composed the score for a bunch of the X-Men movies as well. So that's kind of cool.
Composed?
He's like, he's an
that's
editor
really
and
cool.
a composer. Yeah, he's like a double threat there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, John Ottman does it all.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah. No, I think he's probably pretty unique in the film industry. I haven't heard of anybody else who's an editor / composer. A lot of times you have like a director and / editor or something, but yeah.
Or
and then
writer, producer.
Yeah. And then so I also piggybacking on Chris's picks. So I picked Jeffrey Ford and Matthew Schmidt, the editors for Infinity War and Endgame. So it was the same, they edited both movies, and I couldn't decide which one, because in a way, those movies were actually shot back to back or simultaneously or whatever, you know what I mean? And so that was one massive production. Think about that. And they had to sort through all the footage from that entire, it was basically one shoot, and they cut it into two movies. I mean, that was the plan. But I just figured I counted that as one nomination, I guess, because it was the same people on both anyways. And I mean, both, like Chris said, both movies are so amazing at balancing so many characters and so many locations and timelines. And it's like, and yeah, I mean, like I said, that also is a testament to the writing. You'll see a lot of my editing ones overlap with my writing picks as well for that very reason. So I have those, and then two more. I did Lee Smith for The Dark Knight. Lee Smith, has been Nolan's go-to editor for years, and he's done amazing work on all of his films. And again, The Dark Knight is a pretty broad, big scoped movie that has all these plot threads and has to build up these tension, and just think about the editing at the beginning, the whole bank heist kicking off the movie with that and stuff, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. And then it just with everything with the Joker and just like everything works. We've talked so much about The Dark Knight over the years and stuff, but I mean, that Dark Knight just deserves to be nominated in pretty much every category. We know that. And then my last one, which Martin, you'll like this one. I picked Dylan Tichenor, I may be mispronouncing that, for Unbreakable. Now that I picked that because obviously there are some amazing scenes in where you notice the editing kind of in Unbreakable. You know, the fight scenes. There's the whole when he's in the the train station and he's feeling everybody, and they do like those speed ramps and stuff. You know, where it's like the camera like speeds up and slows down and like and stuff like that. But you know what stuck in my head, and you know that shot. Sometimes it's the lack of editing. It's the restraint to edit that I think is something too. And Martin, you know the shot I'm going to talk about is right after the train crash, which was actually the first teaser trailer for Unbreakable, where it's just the doctor. It's that long shot where the doctor is just talking to David Dunn, Bruce Wilson's character, and it's one shot. And in the foreground, you see them. They're like working on somebody out of focus in the foreground, like probably from the train crash. And you see the blood. You remember, you see the blood start to spread, and then you hear the flat line. It's amazing.
You guys pushed me to watch that film after last week's episode of Mr. Glass. Like, I went back and I watched it, Chad, and you're absolutely right. Like,
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. I love it. I wish I would have counted, because there's so much timing that goes into that shot, because we stay back, and then like a certain word and that's when the push-in starts.
Yeah, it pushes in very slow. Yeah.
And then the blood, after another word hits, like as soon as the tension rises, the blood starts to come out and you start to see it. So it's
Unbreakable is another movie. Obviously, it's going to be in a lot of my categories. You already saw in the first episode. Like, that's another one I think deserves to be nominated in all these categories. But
now I wish I would have done Unbreakable and Batman Begins.
I love Batman Begins too. But yeah, Unbreakable is more. It's for what the restraint in editing sometimes, and obviously that's planned. That was part of M. Night Shyamalan's plan. Like, they probably didn't even shoot coverage for that. You know, that was shot as one shot, but still, like, So I put that one in there too.
And think of how much faith your editor has to have in your director, too, right? To not have coverage.
Yeah, if you don't shoot coverage, like, you have to. Yeah, you gotta know what you're doing. You know.
That's the plan.
Those are all my picks. So, Susie, what do you got?
Damn it, we have so many of the same picks. Okay.
That's good. Less editing down of the nominees.
True. So, first two, for the exact same reason, I went with X-Men Days of Future Past and Avengers Endgame. Because if you can tell a story where time travel is involved and I can understand it all the way through and like still have fun with it and not try to poke like plot holes throughout the entire thing, you did your job. And I am very pleased and I can enjoy it. I love
suspended.
Exactly. Next choice being The Dark Knight, because it's a Christopher, like, it's beautiful from beginning to end and deserves to be in practically every category here. And just the way it was edited all the way through to tell that story, it's just, I don't know, it's one of my favorites in general. And Unbreakable is just so methodic. It's extremely methodic the entire way through, where the editing is so important to tell that story, where you have to be, as a viewer, just believe that Samuel L. Jackson's character is the good guy from beginning up until the end, where like you get the shots of like, oh shit, you know, like this dude is just pure evil.
Make that twist so much more better.
Exactly. And like you guys were saying, it was just timed so perfectly to just, I don't know, it's just beautifully shot.
Ooh, Martin, you know, another one, a long take one, isn't it when he fights the guy and it's all seen through the window?
It's seen through the top of the frame as if it's a surveillance camera.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Where you actually feel like you are just watching.
Yeah, these like, long shots.
Yeah, it's just
incredible. Yeah,
it's done so well. And my last pick, which none of you guys did mention, is Deadpool 2. Just the way that I think that like actually is edited to be comic booky, and just the shots of like jokes with all of the X-Men mutants, and it's just edited so fun throughout the entire thing, where you
I mean,
can
both of
actually
those,
like
yeah,
have a
both of
great
those
time.
movies, both those movies are
Both of
like,
them.
jokes are like a mile a minute, like
Yeah.
and yeah, that's great.
And
I
and
can
and
I
it's
can
not
watch
like
them both like so many times.
Yeah,
that's so true. Like think about comedic editing, right? You're right, Chad.
Right.
Like it's so much joke, joke, joke.
I think it takes a different skill to do comedic ending, like editing in general, because like if you do it wrong, it just lands flat.
no, I
Yeah,
love
no, it
I
definitely
love when a
does.
joke I love when a joke comes purely from editing, not
Yeah.
from like a line or a punchline, like what I mentioned in Spider-Verse, like
Yeah, I
when
was gonna
the
say.
music is swelling and he's
Yeah.
getting ready to go over the edge and he's looking down and then the music just stops and it cuts to like him like running back down the stairs with like the squeaking of like his shoes.
Right.
It's like that's just an edit. That's just a hard cut and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah,
like,
if you can do
so
that
good.
beautifully and make me laugh and have a good
Yeah.
time, you did your job perfectly.
I hope if there are editors watching this, you understand that you guys are the unsung heroes of I was gonna say
We
the
appreciate
filmmaking
you.
world, but you're the unsung heroes of just cinema in general.
To be
Um,
honest, like I'm not a technical
Yeah.
person at all, and thinking back on these picks, it makes you realize like, oh wow, they tell this story. Like without
Yeah.
a good editor, you can really mess a movie up completely.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
all right, so if your film, look at your list this time, is not represented, let me know. So we have Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Justice League, The Snyder Cut, Days of Future Past, X-Men, Watchmen, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Far From Home, Unbreakable, The Dark Knight, and Deadpool 2.
That's
Did you
exactly
say
10.
Avengers Endgame?
Right.
Did you say
Yep.
it? Okay.
That's exactly 10, isn't it?
Guys, we don't have to do any editing.
Nice. No editing
We're the best,
required.
guys. We are the best.
How ironic. The one category we don't have to cut anything out.
I love that.
Perfect.
This next category is something that is probably my favorite element of filmmaking altogether. You know, I've edited, I've directed, I spend most of my time producing now, but I look back and I'm like, did I miss my calling? Because I love this so much. Scores, music, best original score. Like, oh, I just want to hear all of what you guys have to say because I spend so much of my time just listening to scores. If you follow my Spotify feed, it's probably just like Dark Knight, Superman, like Marvel films, Da Vinci Code, just like all these different things.
Transformers.
Oh,
Hans Zimmer, yeah, you know.
And side note, Chad and I went to go see Hans Zimmer in concert.
Oh, dude,
a few years ago.
A couple years ago.
Why are you guys having these like bro nights and don't invite anyone?
I don't know if I knew you yet. No, I did know you, Susie.
I don't know.
We didn't know
Oh,
I didn't know your nerdiness.
Incredible. Oh, he did. Yeah, he did Batman stuff.
Stellar.
He did Gladiator. He did Inception. He did
Angels
he did
and
all
Demons,
everything.
Da Vinci Code,
Lion King. It was incredible.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
I just sat there on my phone just recording.
I know you recorded the whole concert. I was like, how does your phone fit like a 2-hour concert worth of video?
He'll make it fit.
Oh my god.
Right?
No, but you guys probably know this, and I've probably talked about this in past episodes, but I'm a huge movie score fan. I'm a massive John Williams fan. I've started seeing John Williams in concert when I was like 13, I think, and I saw him because I grew up in Massachusetts, and he did movie night concerts at Tanglewood in Western Mass, the summer home of the Boston Pops, every year. And it just blew my mind that like an hour from where I grew up, I could see the John Williams doing like Star Wars music and Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park. And I go every summer. And then I moved out to LA, and he continued to do bowl shows every year at the Hollywood Bowl. And so I continued, and I had a streak going, seeing him every year from 1999 up until he didn't appear in like 2015, I think, for some health issues or something, but he had like a video message. They still did his music. And but then he returned, and he started not doing the whole concerts anymore because he's getting older, only doing half. And then obviously he skipped last year. There were no bowl shows, but he's supposed to be back this Labor Day. But I see John Williams every year that I can, with only missing like 2 years since 1999. I buy those are the only CDs I still buy. John Williams like scores when they come out. I've just always been obsessed with John Williams, but just like
As you should be.
movie scores. Yeah, I mean, he's the best of the best, but just movie
Yeah.
scores in general. I love movie music, symphonic music. It is kind of, it's sort of a dying art in a way. There's certain composers that still really
I don't think it's dying.
do it. Well, it's not as prolific in the style that John Williams uses, what they call which are like, which is obviously in Star Wars and stuff, where you have themes for every character and themes for things. Like, not a lot of composers really do that anymore, but I mean, I love like, Hans Zimmer, Michael Giacchino, Thomas Newman. A lot of those guys are like some of my favorites, whatever they come up with.
Okay, so we'll hear what your picks.
I guess I can. Yeah, sure. I'll just jump in while I'm talking. So I have a lot for this one because, like I said, I love this stuff too. So I have, of course, James Newton Howard for Unbreakable. I mean, come on, that's that the music he came up with, that, which obviously they used as the tease at the end of Split when that music started kind of fading up to before they revealed David Dunn at the end.
Martin's so mad at you.
Martin, you
it's peanut butter and jelly right there.
But I love that it's kind of like it kicks. There's like percussion in there. It's got like a beat to it. Like but it's also really symphonic. So I love Unbreakable. Of course, I have Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard for The Dark Knight, which is an amazing score. It's a really cool collaboration between those two composers. I do love James Newton Howard as well. And they just each brought their own like strengths to that. The really symphonic stuff. And Hans does some more of the like kind of electronic stuff. I actually have a copy of the Dark Knight CD score signed by both of them from when they used to have the Virgin store at Hollywood Highland. Summer of 2008, they were there signing, and I got signed.
Did you see them?
Yeah, they were there.
Did you touch them?
What? I probably, I don't know, maybe they touched the CD I have.
Okay, I was wrong. Now Martin's peanut butter and jelly.
So I got that one. I got Ludwig Göransson for Black Panther, which obviously he won an Oscar for. But Ludwig's another composer, is amazing now. All the stuff he does, The Mandalorian and Black Panther, and just all the stuff Tenet. I mean, come on, Tenet was incredible too. But like Black Panther was really, he just brought a flavor that I feel like, right? I don't know. You would not really heard in like a major blockbuster movie like that before, with like the African instruments and influences he's able to bring into that while creating kind of this new sound. It's so iconic now when you hear those drums start up in like a Marvel thing, you're like, Wakanda, it came into like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It came into like, all these movies and stuff. And you're like, we're going to Wakanda now. It's so iconic all of a sudden, and that's really cool.
Definitely have to say like that. And I thought about Black Panther too.
Yeah.
Say if it's there or not in my list, but it didn't feel like it was over the head. Like there's Lion King, right? And we understand like but it didn't feel as a black man, Chris, back me up if you can. I didn't feel like I was overly thrown into this idea that has to be truly African and like you have to love this. It felt unique and it felt innovative and it felt new. Did you feel that way, Chris?
Yeah. No, I did feel that way. It's actually one of mine on my list, but
I mean, that's true. If you think about it, that's tricky because what Ludwig's like, is he like Icelandic or something like that? But just to have like a white, like Nordic guy score the African type music for Black Panther may have been kind of a risky move, right? It could have backfired, but I mean, obviously he's such a brilliant composer that like it really worked. And then I got a couple more picks here because obviously I have a few. I had to go with Alan Silvestri for Avengers Endgame. I mean, for a lot of reasons, because Alan Silvestri is one of my favorite composers, Back to the Future, going all the way back to that and stuff. But I mean, all you need to listen to is Portals from Avengers Endgame, which is like one of the most epic things of all. You listen to that and you get chills. That's the moment where all the portals open up and on your left.
Yeah.
And like, it's one of the most epic. Like you cannot not get chills when you listen to that. Just thinking of your experience of watching that for the first time in the theater and like just what that moment meant for the MCU. And he's weaving in, he did the original Avengers theme too from the first Avengers, but just that is like the culmination of like every MCU musical moment all at once in that. So that's why I nominated him for Endgame. And then I also did Michael Giacchino, who I also mentioned I love, for Doctor Strange, because I rewatched Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange has a really cool, unique score to it. I don't even know what kind of instruments. It's like a really, that I don't even know what it is. I don't know musical instruments that well, even though I love movie scores, but like
they probably went very Tibetan.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Like that, yeah.
The Doctor Strange score sounds different than any other score in the MCU, and it's like kind of a fun kind of score and theme. And so, yeah, I threw that one in there. And then last one, I promise, I did Henry Jackman for Winter Soldier, because I just really love the score for the Winter Soldier, like the Henry Jackman style. And he also scored the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show too. So he like continues that style. And I just always really loved the music in the Winter Soldier. I don't know what it was about it. It was kind of very different from the first Captain America, but like it just had this like really cool sound to it. I don't know. Can't explain it, but it fit the movie really well. So yeah, those are my picks.
Well,
nice.
I'll go next.
Picks.
Yeah, go for it.
Because as you guys are big, huge score fans and score nerds, I'm the audience that just kind of like watches and takes it in and then never thinks about it ever again. I had to really think about some of these aspects, because you guys are absolutely right. Like a good score for those moments can really it'll make or break that scene.
Mhm.
And I have to give it up to the Avengers, not just Infinity War and Endgame, like you were saying. It really made the portal scene at the end of that, at the end of Endgame, like it just brings you back up. You're like, oh yes, it's happening, guys! Finally, everything we want to see. It just like hypes you up, and you get really excited. And also, it makes you feel the absolute dread that you're going to feel at the end of Infinity War, where you're like, okay, I think we're really in trouble here, guys.
Well, you're right. In Infinity War too, like I think that's also Silvestri, but when they at the end, when it cuts it doesn't cut to the credits on like a high note, it cuts to the end on a very like
it's like,
and that literally
that's what it's like
the score makes you feel like I think this is not going to end the way we kind of want it to right now. So they do a great job of showing that. And my other pick is for Watchmen. It's not actually one of my most favorite of the superhero films, but I would have to say that the music to kind of tie into a lot of the scenes in the background, like I really enjoyed that.
Wait, who scored Watchmen?
I'm looking right now.
I could not tell you.
Susie, you're supposed to have this information.
Watchmen, 2009. Come on, IMDb.
I know. Load faster.
I went based off just the movies itself.
Why is the cast so long? Oh, Tyler Bates.
Is it Tyler?
Tyler Bates, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Tyler Bates did he did some he's done like John Wick, Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. Cool.
Those are my picks.
Okay, which so were you going? You picked Infinity War, right, for your Avengers one? Is that
both?
One?
I went with Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah,
Watchmen.
All right, you can tab back to, because most of my picks was already said. Like I picked Black Panther, Ludwig. I picked Tyler Bates, but I picked him for Guardians of the Galaxy.
So that's a tricky thing too in a movie that's so like Guardians, that's so soundtrack heavy.
Yeah,
that movie relies really on like the songs for big moments and stuff. So in a movie like that, I mean, I remember the score, but the score almost takes a back seat to like the pop songs that kind of populate that movie too.
The
So
thing I liked about it is
because
together, like it kind of glues them together. It wasn't like, I mean, when you think of it, you'll just think of it as back-to-back songs. But there's an actually really good score that keeps the entire movie. That movie.
Yeah.
Wow. Chris, did you say Tyler Bates did Guardians too?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
that's very interesting, because I was thinking that in my head, like I don't remember those scores at all, but I just remember the variety of music that was just playing, like the oldies and stuff that we knew. For you guys both to pick Tyler Bates, that says a lot about his ability to score films.
Well, think about it, he also did like Deadpool and stuff too, which is very heavy on pop songs as well. But But yeah, to be able to kind of, you know, integrate all those different musical styles and things together is, and I think the theme for Guardians is pretty memorable too. He actually did write a memorable theme for the Guardians. I think that pops up multiple times throughout the movie. So,
and
cool.
Dark Knight for Hans Zimmer. I had that Dark Knight. In the same, I guess.
Wait, hold on. Dark Knight.
Dark
right?
Knight.
Okay, so it's James and Hans.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Then Thor Ragnarok.
Ooh, yeah.
Mark
Is that Tyler Bates too?
Mark Mothersbaugh.
Mark Mothersbaugh. Yeah.
Yes.
He's been doing a lot of movies. You know, the first thing I think of when I think of him, I grew up watching Rugrats, and he did all the music for like Rugrats in like the 90s and stuff like that.
That's fun.
And just to come from, and obviously wasn't he in like Devo in the 80s, like back in the day or something like that? Like he's in one of those 80s bands, and now he's doing like big movies. It's like, it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Same thing with Hans, right? He was in a band before he started. I think he was in a band, played guitar before he started.
Yeah. That's awesome. No, the Ragnarok's fun. It's got that like kind of 80s like synthy kind of vibe to it. Yeah.
And I mean, it's, I mean, and it does fit. I guess I'm being kind of in the band at that time. It just, I mean, it matches. It fits I love the soundtrack for that movie.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good one too.
And then the other one I had was from Suicide Squad. The soundtrack for that movie, because it gave this kind of like, I mean, it's one of those first films that had like bad guys, that's the thing, but it kind of gave this kind of cool but dirty vibe. When I listened to that, that's one of the things I liked best about that movie was the music and the score. So
nice.
Wow.
So there's my picks.
Nice.
Solid picks, you guys. I really feel like, remember when I said this is going to be a short night?
Not so much.
Let me guess, Martin. Did you exclude Unbreakable again?
Listen, I thought about it.
You're giving. How are you not giving? I'm giving so much more love to M. Night in these nominations than you are. Because After Earth doesn't qualify as a superhero movie,
right?
Or The
He'd
Village.
be the only one nominating it.
Or The Village, your favorite movie.
Low blows. Yeah. Okay, so my choices are based upon. Well, actually, I'm looking at my choices now. Hans Zimmer, Marco Beltrami, Hans Zimmer, Danny Elfman, Patrick Doyle. Like, Chad, you said something that really struck me. You said something along the lines of "it's dying." I feel I understood what you're talking about, because I'm a really big fan, like I said, of like the symphonies, of the really big scores, and I want to see all of the instruments playing, and I want to see Hans Zimmer and all these guys composing and like just leading and conducting. Like, that's for me. I think the genesis of my entertainment career was watching a orchestra for the first time, like in the 7th grade. So when you guys know I'm salty about The Dark Knight not getting nominated for Best Picture, but what I was really salty about for years was Inception not winning over The Social Network. And it took me a while to kind of understand what people were talking about in terms of like the newness and the renaissance of this new way of I guess composing music and bringing in people like rock band artists to really put together something to give to give these films like its own kind of character. So I'm okay with it now. But my Patrick Doyle for Thor, that was for a while one of my favorite soundtracks, because I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy would have been as successful if it wasn't for Thor. Thor really introduced us to this world, right? Thor introduced us to this world of space and what people look like on these different planets within the MCU. And the Patrick Doyle score just felt so fun, and it really like brought me into this character who was kind of an asshole if you really think about it. And
especially in Thor,
right? But that score made it kind of fun and gave him this redeeming quality that I really liked. Hans Zimmer for Man of Steel. I really love the Man of Steel soundtrack. It has so much identity for me. Like, all the songs feel different and feel the same. Like, I can listen, all these that I'm about to name, I can listen to them on repeat, or I can press play, walk away, and still hear them. And that was one of the biggest reasons for my choices here, because if I can listen to your whole album, then that means you have something. You've captured my attention. So Hans Zimmer, like even when I played flag football, I remember like being so scared about playing and getting hurt and whatever that might be and leading a team. And I would
Flag
just put on the
football?
Hans Zimmer. Yeah, flag football. Yeah, you played with me. Every Sunday before the game, I put on a Hans Zimmer, I put on Man of Steel, and that would pump me up to the point where I can actually play and get rid of all those fears.
Yeah.
And this is one's interesting. Marco Beltrami for The Wolverine. So that film, right? That film for me felt like a thriller slash horror film. What Marco was able to do. The Wolverine feels like such a unique film that stands out within the X-Men universe, and that music that Marco had, it kept me like on this adventure and on this journey. Like you think back to the scenes where they're on that train and they're fighting on that bullet train, and that could have easily been really cheesy, but I think the music and the score really grounded it and allowed us to really feel like no, this is cinema. This could be a cartoon, but no, this is cinema. You should enjoy this. We understand this is a big comic book spectacle, but there's still something there, and Marco Beltrami like grounded that for me. Then I really wanted to choose The Dark Knight because I know so much thought went into creating that score for Joker in particular. You know, the razor blades on the violins and the guitars, the electric guitars. Like it so much went into the thought process of trying to create a different sound for that Joker. But for me, The Dark Knight Rises, what Hans Zimmer did solely.
Oh, the percussion, like the
yeah.
Yeah, like when they're fighting on the street and stuff at the end in the snow. You're right. That is pretty epic.
Yeah, and it felt like it was like the culmination of all these films, and it felt like that last, like epic is the word you just used, Chad. It felt like that last film needed to be epic. It was this story, the genesis. We saw this character grow, and we were seeing this character end, and it needed to be badass. It needed to be big. There was like the chanting. I'm really a big fan of like the chanting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the vocals, and just remembering like him trying to get out of that cave, and when
the vocal, because you have them all chanting chanting that as he has to climb out and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty epic.
Yeah, so I have
now James Newton Howard didn't come back for that one, right? Isn't it just Hans for that one,
right, just Hans for that one. So that was this was the hardest I've ever had to choose.
I know. We listen to a lot of movie music. I know.
I had Unbreakable in there. I had all these things in there.
I know.
And then the last one on my list, and I was midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning last night, and Danny Elfman's score for Spider-Man came on, and I was like, there's no way I can't add Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, the first one, into this. And I actually think the second one might be a little bit better, but I've listened to the first one more than anything, and it was just so playful, and it felt like a mix of, at that point we're probably, I don't know, freshmen in high school for most of us. So we had watched the Spider-Man cartoon, and I feel like Danny Elfman brought that same fun and innocence from the cartoon into the big screen. So I give it to Danny Elfman for Spider-Man, and those are my choices.
No, it's interesting what you said, Martin, about like being able to ground it, and a composer really sets the tone. You can do whatever you want in editing it, but the music is a huge part of it. And that's another thing. Like, I mean, it's nice, it's cool when you have a good theme that you can recognize, but I mean, if a composer is doing their job, you're almost not noticing, like, but they can create like kick-ass moments too, where like a character theme kicks in and stuff, and you love that stuff,
It adds to so much of the actual scene itself.
Does. Yeah, and speaking of like symphonic, like I like the big symphonic stuff like you do, Martin, too. So like what's kind of interesting is, when you go back and you watch the movies from like the 80s, a lot of movies from the 80s were scored in that new kind of synthy kind of way, and it really, I mean, they're products of their time, but they kind of like get dated very quickly. But like, one of my favorite movies of all time is like Back to the Future, yes, Back to the Future is a very 80s movie in a lot of ways, but think about this just purely symphonic score that Alan Silvestri wrote for that movie, when it very easily could have been scored in a very like one of that like electronic 80s way. And that's why it still like holds up so well to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that holds up like completely.
Yeah, Back to the Future, even though it
Yeah.
clearly takes place in 1985.
It doesn't feel dated at all.
It doesn't feel dated because the music, like symphonic music, is timeless. It's absolutely timeless.
It's still like Back to the Future is the time travel movie.
Yeah,
that everyone will always like, even in Endgame.
Yeah,
Like, are you doing Back to the Future right now?
Hot tub time machine,
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I
did it so
honestly
well.
like going back to what John Williams with Jaws and E.T. and Indiana Jones and Star Wars, like that was a huge. Those were my big movies growing up, and you know, it's like in Spielberg movies, like, and I don't think those movies would have nearly been as successful. Wouldn't have had as big as impact on me and maybe love movies as much as I do today if they didn't have those scores. Like you think like
I agree.
Like,
You're absolutely right, Chad.
Star Wars could have been scored in a really cheesy like 70s way too.
Yeah.
If you know, if they didn't have John Williams, and you think that would still hold up today, it wouldn't hold up as well. And that really made me love those movies growing up and love film, and like that got me to where I was today. I think John Williams is like a huge part of that. So yeah.
All right, we have 15 to choose from.
Oh shit.
So
you say 15?
Yep.
Oh, we have 15. I thought I repeated half the same ones you put down.
We can take that. All right. So Unbreakable stays. The Dark Knight stays, because I'm reading the ones that are multiple. Unbreakable stays. Dark Knight stays. Black Panther. There is more than one, right, for Black Panther, right?
Yeah.
More than one for Avengers Endgame. All right. Only one for Doctor Strange. Captain America: Winter Soldier. Only one. Watchmen. Only one.
Chad,
cut out 5.
Okay, you can cut out Winter Soldier. I mean, I like that one. I like Henry Jackman's style, but
take out Watchmen then, because I don't think anyone else said that one.
But most of mine, no one said. No one said Thor. Patrick Doyle. No one said Thor. No one said Man of Steel. No one said the Wolverine. No one said The Dark Knight Rises. No one said Spider-Man.
Oh, so all yours are different. Okay, that's where the extra 5 came.
You're the problem.
Well, no, we'll keep this. I mean, no one said Suicide Squad or Ragnarok, or I don't think anyone said Guardians except me.
Well, so maybe we cut it to one of the Avengers ones. I know that's tough though, because I know what you mean. Infinity War's got that very like, it's a very kind of like,
it sets a tone for sure.
Infinity War, but then like, but Endgame's got portals.
I would say Endgame. I choose Endgame.
All right.
If I would choose between the two, it would be Endgame.
I just got to go with Endgame because like that's one of the most epic movie moments of all time. Like you can't, I don't know, you know what I mean?
It pumps you the hell up. I'd rather be pumped up than feel sad.
All right, 3 more to like get rid of.
I can let Guardians of the Galaxy go.
Okay.
Let that one go.
I can let the Wolverine go. Let go. One more.
One more.
We got Spider-Man, The Dark Knight Rises, Man of Steel, Thor, Suicide Squad, maybe one of the Thors. Thor, Suicide Squad, Thor Ragnarok, Doctor Strange, Avengers.
You can let Suicide Squad go. You can let Suicide Squad go.
We did it.
All right, we did it. That wasn't that bad.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Good stuff.
All right, capers, listening to us, we are ready for the next category. It is Best Screenplay. This is a pretty heavy one. I think Susie should go first for this one.
I went a little bit different with my picks, capers. So a little bit of mine is Best Original Screenplay, and a little bit of it is not so much. So my first pick is Logan. I truly thought that film was a great adaptation of the X-Men universe, and it had its own genuine spin on it. Where it was still a lot of the same characters, but they were just darker. It's just, I think, like, especially like Logan's character, he just had been through all of everything that he had gone through, and he just, I don't know. The way I describe it is just darker in its sense. What do you guys think?
That makes sense. That makes sense, because you're talking about, and we talked about this the last podcast episode, or the last episode, and was like Professor X, Charles, had been like that father to all of the X-Men, and for him to have, I think it was Alzheimer's or whatever condition he was going through, that was very dark. And he was negative. Like, we saw a little bit of young Patrick Stewart, or not young Patrick Stewart, but we saw a little bit of young Professor X with James McAvoy, and like you saw that he wasn't always like this clean cut character who made the right choices. But when it got to Logan, it's just like he's everything you hope that you never see in anyone that you love. And even Logan, like, to know that he's going to pass, and to know that he's just reached a point where he can no longer be the character that we saw in X-Men 1, and he can no longer fight and heal. It was pretty dark. You're right.
It's heartbreaking. Next would be Unbreakable. It is, like I said before, extremely methodic, and it is just. I mean, Martin might be able to tell us. I have no idea whether or not Shyamalan had intent to make this a whole thing from the very beginning.
Yep. He did.
And it was done beautifully, and I am so happy to have been able to see them all. It's like in Split, that last scene where he ties it all in together and you realize, that it is a part of that whole universe. It's amazing. But like, I think Unbreakable in itself is just a beautiful film.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also The Dark Knight, because again, how can it not exist in practically every category that exists in film? It's just shot, written, it's everything amazingly beautiful. And also Kick-Ass, which is probably a film not in anyone's category here. I love the fact that it's like a new take on superheroes, and it's kind of what people who love the world of superheroes would love to be able to do themselves. And I love the idea of being able to kind of like put that out there. And it's just a fun movie. And The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Nice. Those are some solid choices, Suji.
Incredibles is fun. Yeah, to kind of take to take the superhero genre and kind of put it into an animated feature. Yeah, that was kind of it's kind of a newer thing, I think, at the time.
Like an original one too. Like, it's not just like Superman is, animated.
Yeah.
So there aren't too many out there.
Very cool.
I think superhero films realize at some point that the characters that we are seeing on screen, it's okay for them to be human. It's okay for them to worry about finances, like in The Incredibles, or taxes. It's okay for them to it's okay for them to like be jealous of another human being, talking about, Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne and The Dark Knight. So yeah, and it's okay for them to not have faith in themselves, and not really feel like they are super, like David Dunn in Unbreakable. So I think that's when the superhero films changed to something that was like more than just a money grab from a studio.
Who's up next? Martin, you want to go?
Let's do this. Best screenplay, Dark Knight, because we know, right? We know. And you can analyze that film so much, and just there's so many nuances, and like think about the relationship between Bruce Wayne and the Joker, and like how the Joker has to make Bruce Wayne break his one rule. It's I don't need to talk about it. We know.
Yeah, we know.
The Winter Soldier. Oh man. That was like one of the first Marvel films where I felt like I wasn't watching a superhero film. And I think even Anthony Mackie said the same thing. And there was like a lot of the people in the film, a lot of the actors in the film said that same exact thing. They're like, we're looking at this as a movie, as like an espionage movie.
Yeah, it's more like a 70s political thriller and stuff.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, and then you had Robert Redford, who was in like all the President's Men and stuff in the 70s, and it just kind of like makes it all work, yeah.
Turn the genre into a spy thriller.
Right? And just living through Captain America, and just like you see his disdain for the world he lives in now. And I can't imagine waking up, 70 years from now and seeing just how the world has turned. And you think about like all the old people who can't get with the times, right? Who can't understand what pronouns mean and what gender pronouns mean, and who still like say those racial slurs and like think it's okay. Like, just imagine taking that and then multiplying it by like 50 in your Captain America living in like post 9/11 world. So I really like the Winter Soldier. Civil War, the first time I saw it didn't stick with me. The more I watched it, I was like, wow, you have this ensemble film that has so many characters and such that bromance between Cap and Tony Stark, and like just that whole storyline between those two. Like, you're so dedicated to watching them fight each other because you understand that both of them are fighting for something that they feel is morally right. And just that tension between those two is what set this universe off into this next span of films that we saw. So I really think it was.
And that movie's got like
amazing.
the building tension. You see, I mean, they already have some tension between them with the Sokovia Accords and all that, and
Yeah.
But I mean, but you just to see it build and come to a head and just little like kind of lays the breadcrumbs almost to all the way leading up to the explosive moment, and you're just like getting little clues about it here and there. Mission Report, December 16th, 1991, as Zemo is like uncovering things, and yeah, it's like almost like a little mystery that's being uncovered throughout that movie too. So
yeah,
anyway.
Definitely agree. And then Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Just
Absolutely.
having
Yeah.
It took me a while to come up with that one. I came up with that a few days ago, and just a simple point of taking Uncle Ben's death and taking what that death and that trauma meant, and what we've seen and what we've had to live through for, I don't know, 2 or 3 films throughout our lifetime. And when it came to Spider-Verse, you still took that same trauma that we were holding on to with these other films, and then you kind of twisted it in a way. And for someone who's had sibling issues, for me it was like I was watching that film and like I just got it right. And Chris, I'm gonna point to the other black male in the room, but it's just like the fact that you're able to tell such a impactful story and not use black trauma in a way that we'd seen before. It really opened my eyes to storytelling and like really showed that you can be creative in the way that you present this trauma and help a character overcome that trauma.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Not this one, but yeah, I agree.
Just taking a fresh perspective on the whole Spider-Man mythos too. Like, we've seen Peter Parker's story how many times in movies and stuff like that, but Miles, who's a relatively new character in the comics and stuff, just seeing it kind of, it's like you're reframing kind of the Spider-Man origin story. But like, what's brilliant about Spider-Verse is it also lets you bring in the original Peter Parker, who's at a different place in his life, and all these other versions of Peter, which obviously all comes from the comics, but the way to like weave them all together and all in it works and stuff like that, and to make it so funny and stuff too, like Peter B. Parker, like how he's so hung up on Mary Jane and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just there's a lot of great humor in that movie too. So
they made him so much more relatable, and I just love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And just what that meant for young Latino kids and young Black kids to really see a character that embodied and that looked like them. Like, I don't know if I told you this, Chad, but we went to go see it at it was a theater in Hollywood. I think it was we had swag from that event, and we had that Spider-Man backpack.
Oh, that screening. Okay, now I remember.
Oh,
at the Chinese 6. Yeah, now I remember. Okay, now I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And we got swag, and I gave it to my girlfriend so that she can give it to her kids, and she teaches in Boyle Heights, which is like 100% Latino. And she gave it away to one of the kids in their kindergarten, first grade, like young.
Oh, really? Oh.
And like he was so excited. He put on the little beanie and like had the backpack on, and he just looked like a little Miles, and you could just tell that character meant something to him. So
that's amazing. I don't know if you told me that. That's great.
There's something to be said to seeing like yourself kind of represented in film.
Yes.
I think it's just, it's really great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
I mean,
that,
I can't. Obviously, I'm not the person to speak about that or anything like that. I'm the only white guy in the room here.
You can speak. Just say the right thing.
yeah.
I defer. I'll defer to other. Yeah. No. No. I recognize what that movie meant to a lot of people, and it's really cool. And even like Black Panther too. I mean, that just seeing that kind of world, and you know, even though it's fictional, it's like, you know, it's like it's taking things from real cultures and things like that and incorporating it in, and just on that big of a scale and everything. I totally get that, and that's really cool. So yeah,
especially like in Black Panther, they showed two different types of just Black culture, because where Killmonger came from, that those are all true. Africa, and that's all, you know, that's all true. But it's not just all about. It's not all about, oh, they're Black, so it's this, but it's just their culture and their characters and how these characters are, and that's the telling the story. And that's what I feel like with the Spider-Verse is like too. With, I mean, it's Miles Morales' story, and we see his family, we see his, but it's not. It has nothing to do with his race. That's all.
Right.
All marketing.
Yeah, he's a normal kid with a normal kid with a normal family and a normal life and everything, and you saw a different person's life.
Something just bigger than him. Took over.
And it's awesome because these movies the last couple of years have done really well and really, I think, opened people's eyes. And obviously they want to, you know, now they want to have more diversity, not just in the awards, but now there's isn't some of the studios now have to vet they're vetting their like screenplays or something, where it has to have so many like characters of different representations. Then just like they're very conscious of that now, and which is really cool to help better represent what the world actually looks like around us, stuff like that. I think it's awesome that they're really starting to put a lot of effort into that. So
not everything is just a bunch of white dudes sitting in a room together having a conversation.
That's the world that way, and that's all it's like.
Right. And which brings me to my last pick of Unbreakable for best
finally picked Unbreakable, finally.
Mr. Shyamalan. You know, I didn't understand why I loved that movie so much as a kid. I do know that moment was when I found my voice. I remember talking about Unbreakable to the mother of this girl that I liked. And it was funny because, you know, I grew up in a very poor neighborhood, a lot of gang violence, and it was just a lot of trauma that I had to deal with. So with that, you never really had an opportunity to show what your voice truly was. And I remember talking to this girl's mom, and I was like so passionate speaking about Unbreakable that I didn't know why. And then the mom was like, Martin, are you gay? It was the funniest thing ever. And I was like, wait, why do you, what is that? Why is that your response? Because
passion equal gay.
Right. And it's funny because that's kind of what the representation of passion was where I grew up. But for me, it was like that film resonated with me for so long because I saw a Black character as a kid grow up into someone. And it wasn't, like I said earlier, just about that Black trauma, right? It was a different trauma that this kid had to go through. And that mom that had to be strong for Mr. Glass, that mom that had to push him and use Proverbs and use the Bible as a way to influence him and inspire him to kind of rise up out of the situation that he was in and become someone better than who he was. And so for me, it was like, I felt and I saw myself on screen for the first time when I saw Unbreakable. So
I mean, he did become a supervillain, but you know.
He did.
Yeah. His mom is the one that created him to be that way. She introduced him to the world of comics.
She gave him that comic book.
Yeah. And that's a whole story about how trauma, you know, can really influence people to go down that wrong path in life. So I just think Unbreakable was a superhero film before we were ready for superhero films. So it gets my vote.
I have a couple that are the same. Logan was my first choice. Also, The Winter Soldier, which is a lot of what we was talking about before. They took the superhero genre and turned it to a spy thriller. The Dark Knight, of course, should be in all these categories, which it's in this one as well. Now I went to, also I picked Joker.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, the telling of the story of how like the the Joker, this version of the Joker became how he can become this supervillain. But you completely understood, and they wrapped this whole story around mental illness and how it affects real people, and how it's not even technically his fault. It came, in that story, it came from his parents, it came from his mother. But I mean, it's like a real life story of how someone could turn psychotic into a Joker.
Epigenetics in a way.
Hmm?
Epigenetics in a way, passed on.
Just thinking about now too is like Joker's a really good movie, right? And Joaquin did an amazing job. Todd Phillips did amazing. Like everything about the movie is actually really well done. Like, yeah, obviously we talked about the cinematography and the makeup and the acting, the directing and writing. It's like if it wasn't for The Dark Knight and what Christopher Nolan did with the Joker in that, like this Todd Phillips Joker might be our like defining like Joker like superhero portrayal. But I feel like we always kind of like we've nominated a few things here, but we don't talk about as much. I mean, it's a really good movie and stuff, but it's like, it's like I think that kind of gets buried. It's still just there's no way it'll ever top, the portrayal of that character in The Dark Knight. So,
And yeah, to me, I feel like it's a different kind of movie. It's not even exactly a superhero movie.
Right. Yeah.
To me, when I compare it to, I try not to compare it to Heath Ledger's Joker because it's, Heath Ledger's Joker was a completely, he was already a bad guy. He's a super villain.
It's a completely different Joker entirely.
Right.
Yeah, what we've talked about as part of the fascinating thing about The Dark Knight is just the mystery. You don't know the origin, and that's what makes it really like scarier,
Oh yeah, because that's one of the things that Batman cannot predict.
Yeah.
You can't predict the Joker because the Joker is completely unpredictable.
I don't think the Joker knows what the Joker is gonna do.
Yeah,
so
exactly,
it's true.
And yeah. Oh, in my last pick is X2.
Ooh, nice.
X-Men United. Actually, when it came out, it was like one of the well, on top of X-Men 1, big ensemble superhero movies, which they weren't doing yet at the time. Stuck with X-Men. Yeah. But it dealt with so many different on top of the underlining prejudice in the world and how people felt about mutants, and you dealt with people's families, like Iceman and his family. You dealt with Nightcrawler just feeling like he has to hide out. It was just always kind of, they kind of wrapped all these real life prejudices that happen in the world.
Yeah. Susie's favorite commentary.
Told a great story. And
yeah, like the Empire Strikes Back of X-Men movies.
Yeah,
Sue is one of my favorite, like Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines in that is one of Mystique's only lines. Is when when she transforms and Nightcrawler talks to her. He says that so you can be whoever you want. You can change into whoever you want. And why are you why don't you change? And she's like, well, because we shouldn't have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
why should you conform to who
they
they
have
are?
a mic at the theater. I just
drop the mic, walk out. Yeah. Explosion in the background.
But I love that script.
Yeah, no, we've talked about this too, but those movies were, and even going back to the comics originally, were all kind of a metaphor for, kind of the gay community and stuff. And especially you had Bryan Singer directing those movies too, who is openly gay and stuff. So I think he probably really made sure that that kind of underlying message got through in the screenplay.
I don't think it got through to everyone. But...
Yeah, probably not. But
but,
it's there, and it's in a way. It's always. I think even that was the intention of the original comics. I think too, back in
was it? Yeah, I thought it was kind of like gay. It was black. It was every. I thought it was kind of like the.
Yeah, I don't even see it as just a gay.
But it was way ahead of its
different.
time. At the
You're
time.
different.
So, very cool.
Yeah. Nice choices, Chris.
Yeah, those are my picks.
All right.
Let's see
if Chad has 17 again.
I know. No, I have 6. I'll go through them quickly because there's a lot of overlap, and I know we're So I also have I put Scott Frank, James Mangold, and Michael Green. Yeah, I'll name the writers because I wrote them down. For Logan, just because how, like we talked about, just such a different X-Men movie, really takes in a different direction, like a much more dramatic and just a great just a great movie. So I have that one. I have Jonathan Nolan and Christopher Nolan for The Dark Knight, of course, for all the reasons we talked about. Just they made a crime epic. It almost is like a Michael Mann like Heat style kind of crime epic, just set in this Batman universe. That's what really ambitious.
Started watching Heat last night.
Oh really?
I'd never.
And it's just like such a cold, like every Nolan movie. It's such a cold movie too. It's not like not sentimental in any way. And I don't know. I just really like that about the Nolan movies. Then I also have M. Night Shyamalan for Unbreakable, of course, for all the reasons we talked about. Just like all the brilliant reasons, and then also because you didn't know you were watching the parallel tracks of a superhero and a supervillain, like kind of at the same time. I mean, that's just brilliant in itself. Like nobody knew that was the reveal you were going to get going into it. That you were getting a superhero origin and a supervillain origin.
It's more fun watching someone who's never seen it.
Yeah.
When you already know and you're like, they don't have any idea. That's great.
I mean, sure, it's not the biggest twist though. I mean, that was kind of the brilliant thing about Split too, is you didn't know you were watching another supervillain origin story set in that same universe, which is great. But Unbreakable obviously deserves a spot in there. Like at those three, I also put I had Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick for Deadpool, just because Deadpool is just on a whole nother level of like so many jokes and like, just like kind of totally overhauling that character from, his appearance in X-Men Origins Wolverine and then I don't know, just finding a way to make just that character fits Ryan Reynolds so well.
He is Deadpool.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone else ever playing that
separate
character.
it now and just it's another one of those movies that's just like a joke a minute, just like and just they make it work and it's hilarious and it just so.
And the fact that like Ryan Reynolds had to release that, like what was it, like a teaser or whatever, just to make that movie be made.
Yeah, they had like a proof of concept or something, and then it helped it get made. Yeah. I also have Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely for Avengers Infinity War, because I've talked about this before too. I'm just so fascinated that they found a way, and I'm including Infinity War because they found a way to just get all these characters together. They found a way to get every character to where they needed to be. I mean, they must have had a massive whiteboard to be like, Hulk is here, Thor is here, the Guardians are here, Iron Man's here, Steve is here, and then figuring out a way, okay, we're going to pair up these guys with these guys and these guys, and this is how he gets to where these guys are, and this is how we're going to get Thor to get Guardians, and this is how we're going to get Hulk back to New York to meet up with Doctor Strange. It's like my mind.
It's gotta take years just to plan.
My
all
mind
that.
is blown every time I watch Infinity War. I was like, they figured out how to juggle all of these characters, and it works, and nothing feels forced. At least to me, it doesn't feel forced, and it's like it works. And it blows my mind. Like I don't know how you even sit down to start writing that movie.
And at like a reasonable time, so.
Like, that has to be on this list. I don't
know. You ever go on that Warner Brothers tour and then like you go into the Friends and then like you see that big poster board of like all the Friends storylines put together, and it's like now imagine that times 50.
That's simple compared to I know, right? It's like insane. So definitely that one on here, and then I don't know, this one, and my last one is this just stuck out to me. I put Eric Pearson, Craig Kyle, Christopher L. Yost for Thor Ragnarok, just because they took the Thor character, which always had a little bit of humor because he's always kind of like a fish out of water kind of thing. In the first movie, especially. Second movie is a bit darker, but then to just really completely, and obviously Taika Waititi is a big part of this too, the way he directed it, but to just completely lean into the humorous side of Thor and just make a movie that is so different in tone than the other Thor movies that came before it. But it works. Like
it's hilarious.
You don't question it and stuff, and you're like you just like let's Chris Hemsworth there just like show off his comedic acting chops, and just like they just really lean into that, and but it's just so different from the previous movies. So I just think I just felt like that
And
I want to put that one on there just because of that. But
and it makes me think too. It's like, was this always the intent? Like, we know that Thor and Hulk are the two lowest grossing kind of MCU films, right? And it's like, to put these two together, at what point was that like a pivot that they
I don't know.
realized?
Well, no, I mean,
think it was,
Hulk. Marvel actually doesn't have the rights to make a solo Hulk movie. Universal only has the rights to make solo Hulk movies. So, and I just think I think the first one was low grossing because the MCU was so new at the time. It only came out a month after Iron Man.
Right.
You know?
No, they were all low grossing.
So.
And we talked about this in the podcast. It felt like a thriller horror film when we were watching it. It didn't feel like a MCU film, and they were like trying to.
I like the first Hulk, and they do. I mean, they do tie in with the MCU. You do have Tony Stark shows up to talk to General Ross in the end credits and stuff like that. But
I mean, I think they planned it because he wasn't going to have Hulk and Thor in Civil War.
Yeah,
that would have been a different movie.
So, but anyway, so those are my picks. So.
All right, so I think with this, the lesson that we learned is, despite guidelines and rules, Chad has such a desire and such a love for film that he's like, fuck your rules, fuck your couch. These films need to be in there. I respect that, Chad. I respect that, resident movie nerd.
I know we got to cut some out. It's fine, you know.
All right, let's go. Oh, what's the list? We should be under 10.
I think we're 10. I think we're 10 all together. All right. If you don't feel like your film is represented here, let me know. Logan, Unbreakable, Kick-Ass, The Dark Knight, The Incredibles, The Winter Soldier, Joker, X2, X United, Avengers: Infinity War, and Thor: Ragnarok.
I think you missed Deadpool.
Did I miss Deadpool? I thought I added it there. Deadpool.
But does that put it over 10? Because we can.
That puts us at 11.
Okay. Since I picked 6, we can cut out. I say we can cut out. I'd rather keep Deadpool over Thor Ragnarok. I feel. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I agree because Thor. It's not like Thor was a. Deadpool was completely new.
I feel like Thor, as good as Thor Ragnarok is, I think a lot of that does come down to Taika's directing as well. Whereas like Deadpool, like you got to put all those jokes. You have to put all those jokes on the page first. You know what I mean? I think so.
Okay.
You can take out Ragnarok and just. Okay, so does that keep
at 10? I think there's two more categories. Yeah, we're at 10 with
nice.
Okay. All right, Capers.
Best original song.
The next category is, like CZQ said, best original song. I'm gonna go first. Whew, this is a fun one to kind of think about, and this spans like not a lot of our categories. I don't think go back to 2000, but this one's gonna go back to 2000.
Wait, hold on. Before you start, we should preface with, when we were doing our picks for this for best original song, we wanted to make sure it was a song that at least closely like debuted with the movie. So like unlike the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, which uses all these amazing songs from the 70s and stuff like that, we didn't count that. We counted a song that was included in the original film's soundtrack and maybe debuted, you know, along with the movie or right before the movie or something like that, close to the release of the actual movie. So that's I just wanted to mention that. So cool.
Yes. All right, so Bringing to Life, Evanescence, Daredevil.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Wake me up inside.
Probably.
So good.
There's a few redeeming qualities from that movie, and that's definitely one of them.
Okay.
You know, Evanescence had such a good run at that point too. They were so new and unique, and at least my generation, I don't think I'd ever seen anything like that before, or punk rock / like operatic, you know, if that's a word. But that just added so much value, I think, to that film. And even though it was a film that kind of still banked off of star power and not necessarily the best story, it gave us a really good song. Now, going almost 2 decades later, when it came to Black Panther, you know, as a K-Dot fan, aka Kendrick Lamar, for those that don't know, talking to you, CZQ and Resident Movie Nerd. But Kendrick Lamar, you know, he came in and added so much value to the Black Panther soundtrack, and I had trouble really trying to figure out and pinpoint which film it was that was going to be the one that I chose, but all the stars Kendrick Lamar and SZA and Black Panther. Like
That's a good choice.
credits roll, that song plays, and you just there only been a few times in my adult life that I felt like I just sat through an experience that took me back to my childhood, watching movies on Wednesdays when they premiered. And I felt that when I listened to All the Stars after going through that emotional journey that was the Black Panther.
See, another great reason to sit through the credits, not just score, but sometimes you get an amazing original song that only plays during the credits as well. So
I sat through the credits for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sunflower, Post Malone and Sway Lee, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I actually started listening to that song before I knew exactly where it was from.
Yeah.
And then once I saw that I was in Spider-Verse, I was like, oh man, this brings so much more of an element of enjoyment to this song. So
absolutely.
I thought it did well at transcending and kind of mixing in genres in a sense, I should say, because it's rap, but rap pop at the same time. So it didn't feel like the industry just said, hey, give me the top rap song out there because we know it's cool, and let's just slap it to this film because it's going to sell. No, it felt like it really gelled and fit.
Yeah, it fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the last one, I remember being a high school kid post 9/11, and we all needed a hero.
Yeah.
So Chad Kroeger and Jose Scott from, I believe he's from POD, they were the lead singers in Hero from the Spider-Man soundtrack. And it's just like, you go back and you think of like all the trailers, all the Spider-Mans jumping from building to building, and we needed something positive at that time. And as a kid, you know, Spider-Man was one of the first, and we talked about this too, like which film meant more to the cinematic world of superhero films? Was it X-Men or was it Spider-Man? And so for me, it's like Spider-Man was that film, and Hero had a big part to do with why Spider-Man is such an iconic film for our industry.
Yeah, no, totally. Those are great picks. I'll piggyback on those too. I also had Hero, Chad Kroeger from Spider-Man, because that became a big song, and you still hear that today. And like you're talking about, like the need for a hero. That movie only came out like what, 5, 6, 7, 8 months after 9/11 or something like that, Spider-Man. And obviously it was filmed before the movie, but I'm not sure when they added the song or anything. But think about it too, like, so that, I mean, that movie is always going to be really tied to 9/11, I think. And maybe biggest reason, if you remember the original teaser trailer that they had to pull from theaters. The original specially shot teaser trailer was a bunch of bank robbers in a helicopter who all of a sudden get caught in a web, and the camera pulls out and they're caught in a giant web between the Twin Towers. And then it cut to Spider-Man watching. That was the teaser trailer. It came out in like the summer of 2001, I think.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I know that.
Which they had to pull from theaters. And I think I think the original teaser poster, you could see the reflection of the Twin Towers in Spider-Man's eyes too, right? And then I think they cut that out too.
Yeah. You can find that. Like, you can find that photo on our Instagram, on the Cape C Free Instagram.
Oh yeah. Our country was looking for heroes, and the heroes at the time were kind of like the past year. We're kind of revisiting again. We're first responders again. Back in 2001, it was more like police and fire, and in the past year, it's been more like the medical profession and stuff like that. But yeah, you need just these regular people who have these jobs and step up to be heroes and things like that. And then so that was big. That was a big song. So yeah, had that one on my list. And I also, of course, had Evanescence, Bring Me to Life from Daredevil, because, I mean, come on, that's actually a pretty kick-ass song. That comes on the radio every once in a while, and it's like, it does pump you up a lot. That's the only thing I remember from Daredevil. I saw Daredevil like once in 2003, and the only thing I remember about it is
a very good song.
So, and Evanescence kind of kicks ass too. It's like this kind of cool, hard rock song with like a female lead singer. It's kind of like, it's a pretty cool, unique sound to it as well. But and then Martin and I were really in sync on this one. I also had Post Malone and Sway Lee for Sunflower, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, just because it did fit that movie really well. But a unique thing about that is it's in the movie, like it's like what do you call it, diegetic. It's like
Yeah.
part of the movie.
Because he's
I love
singing along
Right.
to
And
it.
you
Yeah.
the very first moment you meet Miles, he's singing that song and he doesn't know the words, which is really funny because I'm terrible with song lyrics as well. I do not know. I'm so terrible with song lyrics. I never remember lyrics to songs. So that's like me singing along a song. I know like a couple words here and a couple words there. And like,
Which makes him so much more relatable.
right, which makes you kind of like Miles right away, where he's just
Yeah.
like chilling in his room and he's got his, of course, Sony headphones on, and he's just like drawing, and of course like his parents call for him and he like, but yeah, that's so the fact that he's singing it, it's like in the world of the movie, it's kind of a popular song. And then also, if you think about it, remember later when him and Peter B. Parker break into, was it Alchemex, and he can't unstick his fingers from the ceiling, and Peter's like, "What do you do to relax?" And he starts humming Sunflower again.
Yeah.
And his fingers start undoing one by one, and then he falls. Like, so it's like it comes back later in the movie too, which is great. That they kind of revisit that. So it's I picked that because it is a very memorable, awesome song, but also it's like a part of the movie as well in a way, it's like part of the plot.
Yeah,
so.
it's not just in the end credits. It's like a part of it.
That one, and then the last one I picked, which I don't know if this counts, but I had to find a way to make it work. So I picked it's technically called,
He doesn't want to say it so bad.
it's technically called Batman's song Untitled Self-Portrait, sung by Will Arnett from the Lego Movie, even though the Lego Movie is, because believe me, I wanted to go with the Lego Batman movie, but this song is actually from the original Lego movie, the like darkness, no parents, it's such an amazing like Batman anthem that's like so hilarious, and Will Arnett singing. I love the Lego, that Lego Batman character. I know the Lego movie isn't technically a superhero movie, but like, I don't know.
There's superheroes in it.
There are. That's true. Superman's in it. Green Lantern's in it. Batman's in it. And I was trying to see if there was another. I was trying to remember if there's another song from the actual Lego Batman movie, but this one is from the. And there are a couple, but this one I thought was way more memorable, and it's from the original Lego movie. So, yeah, I love that, and so I had to put that one in there. So yeah, that Batman character just cracks me up. Will Arnett's Batman in Lego form. So, yeah, so those are my picks.
Very nice. I can go next.
Okay.
Go for it.
I have some similar picks. One being Spider-Man, A Hero by Nickelback. Yeah. Again, it's just, I mean, a lot of people love hating on Nickelback. But they're genuinely a pretty good pop band, and their music is
got some songs.
I love them.
Yeah, I love them too, but like they have that, reputation.
Yeah,
it's fun to hate on them.
Yeah.
And it was just it's a feel good song for sure. The other being Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Sunflower.
Yeah, nice.
I just remember hearing that song for the first time and I was obsessed. I had to find out who created it, and I just had it on repeat for like the next like week, just playing on my Spotify. It's just genuinely such a fun, catchy song. Next, Suicide Squad, Heathens by 21 Pilot.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And just to kind of piggyback on the little bit of Evanescence, Amy Lee and Seether's Broken in the Punisher movie, which is it's a more of a melody, but it's actually like a pretty beautiful song.
What is it called again?
Broken
by Amy Lee
and Seether. She has the female vocal, and she's just such a strong singer. Her vocal cords kill it.
Nice. All right, and that was from The Punisher.
Yes, which is not a movie I think we have brought up yet.
No,
we did do an episode on it.
Yeah.
Was it The Punisher? Is that the first one or the second one?
I believe it's the first one.
That was the first one, yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Well,
all right, Chris, go for it.
Well, apparently you have a lot of the same songs.
There aren't many.
So
Yeah, not many that make it to the beginning.
First, I do want to say my number one song to pick would be "All the Stars," Kendrick Lamar, for Black Panther.
Yeah.
With SZA. Kendrick Lamar and SZA. That's my number one song to pick. I also want to throw in "Sucker for Pain" by Lil Wayne and Wiz Khalifa and Imagine Dragons from the Suicide Squad soundtrack. I was listening to that whole soundtrack when the movie came out. It got me excited for the movie, and then I was disappointed a little bit with the movie. But there's things I liked about it. Obviously, I like the music from it. So I picked "Sucker for Pain," and then I also picked on "Sunflower" and "Hero," and the only other one would be I picked "Jokes on You" by Charlotte Lawrence from Birds of Prey. If you listen to that song, it pretty much makes you feel her pain of losing the Joker. It's like this whole breakup, but I'm a woman. I'm gonna survive this. I'm gonna do better. But so when you listen to that song, you kind of feel her inner monologue. So, those are the original picks. So,
nice.
All the other ones everyone repeated. So,
I think I got to go back and listen to some of these. I almost added Eminem for Venom.
Did you do an original song for Venom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. I haven't actually seen Venom yet.
Venom's actually pretty fun. It's weird. It's a fun movie.
But I thought it would have been recent.
He did have one. Yeah. He did have a song for
All right. So how many we got, Martin?
We got 9. We're good.
Nice.
Good.
Wait, list them out. Let's make sure we got them all in there.
Hero, Chad Kroeger and Jose Scott, or Nickelback. We'll have to do some searching. Bring Me to Life, Evanescence for Daredevil, All the Stars, Kendrick Lamar and SZA for Black Panther, Sunflower, Post Malone and Sway Lee for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Batman's song, is it called Untitled Self-Portrait, you said?
Yeah, it's called like Batman's song, and then in parentheses, Untitled Self-Portrait. And then that's pretty much just Will Arnett singing that from the Lego movie. Yeah.
Will Arnett. Okay. Lego movie. Heathens by 21 Pilots and Suicide Squad. Broken by Amy Lee and Seether from Punisher. Sucker for Pain. Suicide Squad. Who was the artist for that? Chris?
That was Lil Wayne, Wiz Khalifa, and Imagine Dragons.
And I got to go back and listen to some of these other songs. I don't really remember.
You guys probably know Broken. You just don't know you know it.
Yeah.
Jokes on You,
Birds of Prey. Pretty popular.
Yeah, that's Charlotte Lawrence.
Okay, that's 9.
Nice.
Cool. All right, Capers, you have been on this journey with us, and we probably have one of the most fun categories in this entire Capies, Best Romantic Couple. Who wants to go first?
I can start this one out.
Okay.
Okay. So I have 5 for this one.
When you say
5 romantic couples in the superhero movie. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see. Maybe there's some overlap here. Maybe there's some overlap. Okay. So
hear me out.
What?
No, that's how when you say okay, it's like
okay. Hear me out. Okay, so I have Bob and Helen Parr from The Incredibles because it's just an interesting dynamic in that movie where you have a married couple and they're living a very normal life, and they used to be superheroes and now they're like living the domestic thing, but then they have the kids and they have to get called back into action, and so they have these all these interactions within their marriage while also trying to save the world and be superheroes and stuff like that and raise their family and stuff. So I think that's kind of a unique thing to see in one of these superhero movies. I have so I have Logan and Jean Grey, and I was trying to debate which movie.
Yeah, please tell me which one.
I went with X-Men: The Last Stand because that's the one where
that's a good choice.
That's the one where Jean has Logan has to kill Jean, right, when she's like Dark Phoenixing at the end and stuff like that, and they finally says I love you and all this stuff, and he has to destroy her, and and it's really painful. And because I think a lot of the other movies, they're kind of like there's kind of like a flirting thing going on, but they're not.
Well, yeah,
that's like the climax of their like love, I feel like so.
And that's a traumatic moment that we know the X-Men universe has so many different like storylines and different worlds, but if that's like the one thing that transfers. Like it just reminds me of go back to like Interstellar, and she's all talking about love as the one thing that transcends anything, even time.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Wolverine as a character, his trauma with Jean Grey transcends all of the X-Men films.
True. And then I had I had Tony Stark and Pepper Potts, and I was trying to think of which one, and I went with Endgame because it's in that movie. After you flash forward 5 years, they have a nice life. They have that nice cabin by the lake. They have their daughter Morgan. You can see like they have a nice tranquil life, and it's very nice. And then, of course, the Avengers come knocking on the door and say we need to do this time travel thing, and he refuses. And then when he's just like, I just love that those scenes, those quiet scenes in Endgame with him are like, and him and Pepper are like actually so good. When he just like, I love he just got like the popsicle stick hanging out of his mouth when he's like, I figured out time travel. He's like, I did it. He's like, I figured it out and stuff. And when he has to talk it out with Pepper, and she basically gives him like the okay to go and do this, even though they know the risk. They know, and she knows he might not come back and stuff, but she knows how important it is to try to save people and to try to, I just love that moment too, where Tony, like, he happens to have a little framed picture of him and Peter Parker in his kitchen as he's doing the dishes. I mean, come on. And that just like helps motivate him. And so he knows how important this is. And he doesn't really have to convince Pepper. Like she knows, she knows he
won't give up. That's the thing.
Yeah, she knows he won't give up, and she knows he's been through so much, and she knows he is capable of doing it. And I really like those scenes with their interactions in Endgame when, it's like if he hadn't decided to go out and present this information and help the Avengers with this, like they might have not defeated Thanos or brought everybody back. I mean, reversed everything. So
and that's crazy because like think
critical.
Was I the only one that was like in Infinity War when Tony Stark was like going into space and Pepper was calling him? I was like, Pepper, it's the fate of the world. Like,
it's like, I can't hear you. You're breaking up. No. Right. And so maybe not. That's why this is not for Infinity War, just for Endgame.
But whatever. But like they talk about relationships, right? Chad, you're the only one that's married out of all of us, and they say when it comes to like couples, like you have to accept your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, like for who they are and accept those flaws. And it's like Pepper had the ultimate sacrifice and understood that, like I'm never gonna win when it comes to Tony and his desire to make things right and to save the world.
Yeah, think about this too, when he dies at the end after doing the snap and stuff, and she's there and she's like says her goodbye. She's not, think about it, she's not like that upset. She's not like bawling and like out of her mind. She's like very, obviously she's crying and she's sad, but she's like very calm and very like she knew this was a possible, like she's being very strong in that moment, and she knew it was probably going to have to come to that and stuff like that. And I just think their relationship is literally critical to the plot of Endgame, because if she had refused him to, if she had just been like, don't do this, don't pursue this, don't help, just let it be and stuff like that, and they could have continued living their nice life with their daughter and stuff like that, like they never would have brought everybody back. So
that's insane. Like I'm literally looking at Pepper's character arc right now.
Yeah.
Like you go from who she was in the first Iron Man.
Yeah, it's a great culmination of their relationship from her being like his, almost assistant and stuff like that, just to the CEO to like the flirt, and then
Oh yeah, she's cleaning up other girls. She's cleaning up other girls at his house. Like
that's true. So I had them, and then I had Wade and Vanessa from. I put Deadpool 2 because that's when they're actually like, when I don't know, when she finally she's accepted who he is, and they're together, and they're a couple at the beginning of Deadpool 2, and aren't they having all sorts of like crazy sex and like doing all sorts of crazy. There's like a really funny couple, but then there's the whole thing where she gets killed, and then then he has the visions of like, doesn't he like meet her in the up in the heaven or the afterlife or whatever. He has these like visions of her and all this stuff, and then he ends up going all the way back through time and saves her for being killed and all this. So so their relationship is a big part of that, and that she accepts him after his disfigurement, which he didn't think she would in the first movie and stuff like that. So I always like the Wade and Vanessa relationship was always fun. Okay. And then my last one is a fun one. I couldn't resist. So I picked Ned and Betty from Spider-Man Far From Home when they literally get together on the plane on the way to Italy.
Okay.
I love how, where Peter and Ned are like, we're going to be bachelors in Europe. And then they get off the plane and like, and Ned and Betty are all of a sudden a couple. They're like, hey babe, all this stuff.
and that's over by the end of the trip.
Yeah, Peter's like, what happened? What happened to bachelors in Europe? And Ned's like, Peter, those were the words of a boy, and that boy meant a woman, a very strong and powerful woman. And now that boy is a man, like it's so good. It's just like so funny. And then and then by the end of the trip, they're just broken up again. They're like this loving couple during the entire trip and like holding hands and calling each other babe. And then at the end, it's like, and then just at the end, they're just like, that breakup in the airport or whatever, where Ned's like, I had to write down these lines because they're too good. Where he's like, men and women grow apart, but the journey they share together will always be a part of them. And then like Betty like touches his cheek and goes, "You are so wise," it's like such a funny relationship. Just the time they're in Italy and they like literally get together on the plane and stuff. I don't know. It's just a really funny romantic relationship in the MCU. So I had to go with that one. But anyways, okay, those are my picks.
They're fun. Good choices. You got my head spinning about Tony and Peppers.
Good.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next. I did pick Tony and Pepper. Kind of like what we talked, their love story from the beginning.
For which film though?
Well, see, I didn't pick a particular film, so I'll just go Endgame. Even though I like to point out the whole Infinity War, because this kind of sets up the whole Endgame as well. Because at the point of Infinity War, at the very beginning, when they're setting up their wedding and stuff, and he's promising there's gonna be no surprises. She doesn't believe it. She promises no surprises, that's gonna be it, and literally, the surprise comes out of nowhere. And then of course he winds up on the ship where she's calling him, and she loses him. Half the world, she loses him. Like she actually goes through the whole tragedy of losing him. So it actually adds to Endgame because she knows that she could lose him. She already did once, and now they lucked out. They have a family, but she still says, "Go ahead and do this because you're not gonna be able to stop." From there, that whole step at the beginning of that kind of builds into this, Endgame. But I guess I'll pick Endgame since most of that happened in Endgame.
Chad, you chose Endgame too, right?
Yeah, mine was Endgame. Yeah, just because you see them together, and I don't know, just the.
Yeah, I just feel. I know at the beginning of Infinity War,
right?
He promises, and then he loses her. She loses him.
But you see more of them being a couple in Endgame. I suppose there's a little bit more of that down the line, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and at the beginning of Endgame, that's when she gets him back, and she's all. So the fact that she's able to get him back, live with him for 5 years, and still okay to let him the risk losing him again.
Yeah.
So that's Tony and them. I picked Steve Rogers, Peggy Carter. Obviously because their love lasted. They have to go with Endgame as well, because that's when he decided that. He's been thinking about her. She's been his only, kind of like reason for even coming back to life, even though she's gone, pretty much gone. but him having the chance to actually go back and live a life instead of being a hero, instead of being in the fight all the time, he chooses to do that. He chooses to like, I want this is even though he's been fighting his whole life, and I forget which movie, but the last movie he does mention about him just being in for the fight, and then he realizes when he goes back in time that he doesn't have to be. He could actually choose to be with her.
Yeah, he literally gets a whole do-over. Because you think about it, they're not actually a couple for like any of the movies until the very end of Endgame is when he finally gets to go relive his life. And I think that's really striking too. That really, I mean, I think you're right. Like, I think that is one of the most important ones because think about it. Avengers Endgame, the culmination of 20-something movies and over 10 years of MCU storytelling. Literally, the last shot of the movie is Steve and Peggy dancing. They don't end on some big, they end on a quiet moment with these two people dancing in a house. Like that's how they end. Literally, the entire Infinity Saga of the MCU ends on that couple. So that, yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
definitely.
No.
Strong choices, film school dropout.
Was that it?
And then no, I got two more. My third one is Bruce Banner and Natasha, aka the Black Widow, and I guess in Civil War where they kind of like where they kind of spawned their thing, and Natasha, yeah, she yes, they did a great job.
Backgrounds like that.
You know that you see.
She looks just slightly creepy.
I'm telling it right? Okay. The
what?
No, that she you know,
mind blown right now.
They start to come together. I mean, they actually just flirt and they see this attraction, and throughout Civil War, and by the end of it, they have to they wind up pushing each other away, choosing to fight over, choosing what they have the fighting over, just like running away with each other. But to me, it was just like this sad love story that could have happened. It looked like this culmination of this thing that was really cute, and her softening up, and it just like, but you know, the battle, it's a superhero movie. The action wins, so they lost their thing. Yeah. Okay. And
Chris over here is like the only one who has like a clear, zoomed out, non-pixelated version of the Cape Seat Free logo, and then he's like adding on like Scarlett Johansson behind him. I don't even know how.
Guys, he's the editor. Remember this?
I don't even know how to do this stuff. I have no idea.
And my last one is
who else is popping up, Chris?
Making a cameo.
And Sophie Dunman from Joker.
Who?
Joker, Arthur Fleck, Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and Zazie Beetz' character Sophie.
Interesting.
You know, I mean, they obviously wind up not being
right. That was all
real,
but
you wanted to believe it, though.
Right? No,
yeah,
when you watched it, it was like one of those bright things that's on his dismal life.
Interesting.
It just starts falling apart, and the next thing you know, that wasn't even real either. And granted, this relationship was only in his mind. It was, I mean, I think it was one of those things that like help him. It kind of gave him a little bit of hope and a little bit of reason for living. So when he lost it, that was.
You get an idea of how tragic his life really is.
What was that?
You get an idea of how tragic his life really is.
Yeah.
What's that?
So it's very sad.
Disassociated himself from reality, and that was the only way for him to kind of like find a way through his trauma. That's tough.
Yeah. So, and I mean, technically on the outside, it's a little creepy. I mean, he just stalked this girl, but in his mind, it was beautiful until we realized it wasn't real. So, those are my picks.
Nice.
All right, my turn, right? Or is it just me? Or is there anyone else left?
Both of us.
Oh, do you want to go?
You can go. No, let me go.
Okay.
Because I want to be last. No, I want you to be last.
Oh, okay.
As the only female caper, I think your perspective is going to be very unique. And
pressure. I like it.
It better be unique now.
I know.
It better be.
Wait, hold on. Let me
You got a
change
chance.
some things.
You got a chance because I can talk. My best romantic couple, Harvey Dent and Rachel Dawes in The Dark Knight. There's so much writing on who that Rachel Dawes character was for Bruce Wayne. I think we talked about this last episode. Um, and their relationships, particularly in The Dark Knight, because she is kind of like the catalyst to who both the Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent will become because of her death.
Well, I'll tack onto that too. Is like their last conversation is with right before Rachel dies, is with each other.
Yeah.
Right before when she goes like and she's like, isn't she like spilling? She's like spilling her guts to like Harvey and stuff, like being really sad. And then right mid sentence is when she gets blown up. It's crazy.
And like you find out that she chose the character that we weren't rooting for as an audience, but you understood why.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So them, and then Peter Parker and Mary Jane from Spider-Man 3, actually.
3?
Yep. Spider-Man 3, because of the amount of, like, we as an audience have been waiting for that moment for, I don't know, a movie and a half before they finally get together, or even 2 movies. I don't remember correctly, but in that
because in the first movie he was just creeping on her through the bedroom window. Correctly from our commentary.
and then at the end of the movie, he does the exact opposite of what every teenage boy would have done in that moment, and he's like, "No, we can't be with each other because." Whatever he said. I don't know.
Whatever he said, yeah.
But in that third one, they're together, they're married, and they're going through normal things. And I'm starting to see a trend here with a lot of the choices that we're talking about. We're talking about normal human qualities and human conflict that these extraordinary people have to go through. So the fact that Spider-Man and Mary Jane are going through jealousy and you're spending too much time at your job, you're not spending time with me, and or my job is failing, or I'm failing at my job, and I need that reassurance, and you're not there. Like, just all of that put together in Spider-Man 3 kind of what makes that relationship stand out for me. And then Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker and the Amazing Spider-Man. When I remember just reports about how Andrew Garfield and God, why can't I think of her name?
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone, like, were literally falling in love with each other on set, and their chemistry was so real.
They did have good chemistry, yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember finally seeing the film, and I'm like, oh wow, this is really good chemistry. I like really believe them, and it's not very often you kind of really suspend your disbelief with characters who are kind of forced together in a sense in some movies, but I really felt it between those two, and so they take one of the nomination spots for me. And then Tony Stark and Pepper Potts in Iron Man 3.
Ooh.
And I really like that because I really feel like Pepper was more than just a nagger, or more than just someone who more than just like someone who, I don't know, was in Tony Stark's ear, or was just like that person that kind of made Tony hate those negative qualities in himself. I really feel like Pepper was proactive, and I really think that was the turning point in their relationship, because if I remember correctly, I think Tony saw something in Pepper that he really loved, and I think that was her grit and or her ability to step up to the plate and really, jump in and be a hero when she needed to be. So like, I thought that dynamic, and there was a moment where they kind of gelled together very well in that film. So those are my picks.
Nice.
Okay.
My picks, WandaVision. They have their own series, guys. Like, clearly there are a great romantic couple to be able to kind of expand off of that relationship to create their own series.
What film?
The film that I would choose is Infinity War, because just the sacrifice that both of them just have to make for Vision to even tell Wanda, like, you got to let me go. Like, you have to sacrifice me. You're the only one that can do it. And her having to make that sacrifice for the man that he loved and the world. It's wow. Like, it's a relationship like you haven't really seen.
And she had to watch him die twice. And stuff as was recapped, by Darcy and WandaVision and stuff too.
Absolutely.
So after she had to kill him.
Next couple that I've chosen is Star-Lord and Gamora in Endgame. I chose them because they're kind of that playful couple where they're just kind of like figuring out their footing. They like each other, and Gamora doesn't really necessarily want to admit that she likes him. But there's just something about him that she just can't quit either. And the fact that like he's so in love with her, and that scene at the end when he sees her again, when he thought like she was gone and he lost her. And just that, like, when Gamora just kind of like kicks him down is just so cute. And to just like, she knows the whole storyline because obviously her sister told her about it, and just like, this is the guy. And her sister was just like, it was either him or a tree like, that you could fall in love with. It was just cute, and I love their relationship because she's got to genuinely really like him because she's fought it for so long. The other pick that I have is for Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter, because it's genuinely, I think, the sweetest love story that he could be in the 21st century, choose to do whatever he wants, but he just can't get this person off of his mind. And he chooses to sacrifice everything to be back with her. And just at the end of that movie, it's just like, did he have any regrets? Not one. Like, he made the right choice, and it was choosing her ultimately in the end, and not this different life that he could have had, this other future. He essentially chose to not have a future from where he was just to be with her. And of course, Tony Stark and Pepper Potts.
Which film?
Endgame. Because I think genuinely she made like the ultimate sacrifice to let go of the man that she loves, to knowing that she was never really going to be able to change him. She didn't hold him back in any way. And I honestly, like, I wish that I could be that woman, to just wholeheartedly let your man be who they are. But damn, like, to know that you could possibly lose the man you love, and probably likely, because they're in very dangerous like fields of work, that like she made that sacrifice for the world.
And like I said, she already lost him once.
And it was crazy because like she even said, like, we're one of the lucky ones, like of all these people that disappeared, they got to have each other and they raised a child together. They could have clearly had a whole life lived together, and for her to just allow him or let him just be who he is, because she knew it was probably going to kill him a little bit on the inside to not continue with his work. That like it's just a great sacrifice she made. And my last pick, which is a little fun one, I chose Frozone and his wife from the first Incredibles movie.
Where is my super suit?
Exactly. It's like one of my favorite lines. And that back and forth between them is just the quintessential couple that have been married for like years and years and years to just argue about it. And
you
then
ever
just
see her? Is she always off screen?
No, I think she's always
off screen, right?
Yeah, because even in that scene, and my favorite line is like, "You tell me where my suit is, woman. We're talking about the greater good." And her line is just like, greater good, I'm your wife. I'm the greatest good you're ever you're gonna get. It was just too cute. I love that relationship. And yeah, those are my picks.
Wow.
Nice.
I think
okay.
I have such a better respect for Pepper Potts after the conversation. She saved the world.
Yeah.
Again, she's a better woman than me.
Another fun moment in Tony and Pepper's relationship isn't at the end of the Spider-Man the Homecoming, when they're like all ready to introduce Peter as like the new Spider-Man, and like he backs out, so like Happy just like flips him the ring and stuff so they can announce their engagement at the press conference and stuff. Wasn't that at the end of Homecoming? It's a funny moment too.
I really like I don't know, I just love Pepper and Tony's relationship in Iron Man 1, the first one. Just like the banter back and forth, and kind of
she's like the only one who can like keep him in check, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she knows how to wrangle in Tony really well.
Yeah.
The rare occasion where your affair with your assistant actually works out.
Yeah. All right, so how many we got, Martin? We probably have to cut out a few from this one, right?
Yeah, 12.
Wow. Okay.
That's not that bad.
All right, so first, let's make sure your pick is represented in this list as I read it. Bob and Helen Parr, The Incredibles, Logan and Jean Grey from X-Men, The Last Stand, Tony Stark, Pepper Potts, Avengers Endgame, Wade and Vanessa from Deadpool 2, Ned and Betty from Spider-Man Far From Home, Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter from Avengers Endgame, Bruce Banner and Natasha Romanoff from Civil War, Arthur Fleck and Zazie Beetz from Joker, Harvey Dent and Rachel Dawes from The Dark Knight, Wanda and Vision from Avengers Infinity War, Starchild and Gamora from Avengers Endgame, and Frozone and his wife from The Incredibles.
Did you say Starchild?
Star-Lord. I did say Starchild.
And
Starchild.
her name is Zazie Beetz. It's Sophie Dunman.
Sophie.
Well, we have two Incredibles based ones, so
we can probably take out Frozone and his wife because they're not exactly the leads.
Yeah, I mean it's funny, but like I guess we never actually see her, and it's just but I mean you do.
It's
see
just
more
a funny.
No, it is. No, it's definitely funny. I guess you do see. I mean, you see more of the actual relationship and the couple aspects of the Parr family and stuff like that. But I don't know.
My votes would be Frozone and wife, or Arthur and Sophie, or Ned and Betty.
The Ned and Betty one is funny. I mean, that's just I love that just joke in that one. But I don't know. That one.
I'd say Arthur.
Maybe because that one's not actually
it's
real.
Not real.
The Arthur one's not real, and it's kind of creepy. And I don't know if that's like,
you know what I mean? In a way, I mean, they have more screen time than Ned and Betty and Frozone and his wife.
Ned and Betty are a couple for the entire time they're in Italy, like the entire trip. In that movie, and it's just like so unexpected. Like you don't expect that to happen. That's why I like that one too. Like they talk about being like Ned's all about being bachelors in Europe, and then all of a sudden he like, of course, gets together with her on the plane, and then Peter's kind of like on his own to go after MJ when they're over there and stuff. But
yeah, I can see that, and I really like Arthur Fleck and Sophie because it's such a twist and a turn. And it speaks very highly of the Joker, and it like that's part of his all is lost moment going into that third act is us realizing that the whole thing hasn't been real this whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I vote
we can lose Black Widow and Bruce Banner since they don't actually get back together. They don't actually get together.
I vote Harvey Dent and Rachel Dawes. We can take that out. Anybody agree? That was mine.
Arthur Dent, right? Yeah, I mean, I would
or you can take out Wade and Vanessa from Deadpool too. I don't.
No, I like that pick.
Okay.
No. Wade, that's their lead.
That's a legitimate love story.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the entire second film is his
motivate him.
Yeah.
Okay, so Frozone and his wife, you taking that one out?
Yeah,
Okay, that
that's
leaves
a
us
for
with
sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Steven's gonna be heartbroken.
9, 10, 11. One more.
I mean,
When
I mean,
Natasha
I'd
and
rather leave
Bruce,
Black
yeah, I mean, they
Widow.
never.
But
You can
Natasha
have
and Bruce.
Star-Lord and Gamora.
Well, yeah, I was thinking like Star-Lord and Gamora aren't. They're not exactly a couple in Endgame because the Gamora that he knew dies in Infinity
Yeah.
War.
Exactly.
You want to take that one out?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'd take that one.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo, we did it! All right. Remember when I was like, I think this will go quick.
Yeah,
I don't think you're ever right about that.
Never.
Martin's never right.
Never right at all. These are longer than our commentaries.
How's that even possible?
But we just spam so much and we talk about so much.
You do. You got to.
This one might win. We'll see if this one wins the board for best editing because it's going to be a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the next 5 categories, and we'll be throwing the ballot. The ballot will be up, and yeah, everybody get out there and pick your favorites and vote, and yeah, see what happens.
Capers, you are voting for best film editing, best original score, well, best score, best screenplay, best original song, best romantic couple. Those are the 5 that you're voting for ballot number 2 for the Golden Cape Awards. We are Cape Seat Free. I am Martin, the Thought Junkie, signing off.
Chris, the film school dropout.
You beat me to it.
That's why you wait.
I'm Chad, the resident movie nerd.
And I'm Susie Q.
Susie Q, the Susie Q.
Susie the quarantine. All right, you guys, have fun with the second ballot. Thank you so much for adding value to these films that we've really come to love, and just really recognizing everyone in these categories for their commitment to the films that we've grown to love over these past 2 decades. So
yeah,
have fun. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you in the next
one.
Bye, keepers.
All right.
Peace.
All right.